Approve our nominations for leadership for the coming year. This has been part of a whole bigger process that we've been engaged with over the past couple of years, really. So we're excited to finally bring this to you for your approval. And then next Sunday, I forgot to mention, this Sunday next, we'll be hosting Aaron and Amy Estelle Trout from the, doesn't he have a cool name, Aaron? Yeah, they'll be here with us next week. These are missionaries to the Philippines. They're actually Bay Area people that are called to evangelism and discipleship in the Philippines. They'll be talking about their call to ministry and sharing with us next Sunday. So mark your calendars and make sure that you're here. And you notice Philip gets up and turns on the camera. What's that mean? That means that the people that watch Video Church at home are going to get the exact same thing that you get, which means I don't have to remember next Thursday what I preached today. In fact, if you were to see me on Thursday and ask me what the message was, I'll have no better idea than you will what it was, because I won't be forced to remember it anymore. Everybody gets the same thing. But this is great because it makes obviously makes my life easier, and I love everything that makes my life easy. But it also gives us a sense of togetherness that we haven't had, right? One sermon here, one sermon there, different thing. As much as I try to make it the same, it always comes out a little bit different. Everybody's getting the same thing. And I can speak with one voice to people at home, to people here. That's great. Good stuff. Another step in the right direction, right? We are in endemic times. That's a word now. Trust me. Endemic. Maybe you've heard that phrase, as we continue through the Psalms of Ascent. We're going to be looking at Psalm number 129 today. And I bet you've heard a phrase that goes kind of something like this: that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right? You've heard it? God must want me to be really strong, right? Because this hurts, and this is painful, and this is difficult. And today is about how to not buckle under pressure, how to not get discouraged, how to not give up when the going gets tough, and sometimes the going gets really tough, right? Psalm 129 acknowledges that and gives us a place to sort of vent about it and talk and gather a sense of courage that we need in order to carry us through. I guess I'll just begin by reading the psalm in its entirety, and just kind of a warning or a disclaimer. It's one of the imprecatory psalms, which means it's one of those, God kill the bad guys psalms. So what do we make of that? We'll explore that as well. It says, often they have attacked me from my youth. Let Israel say now, often they have attacked me from my youth, yet they've not prevailed against me. The plowers plowed on my back, they made their furrows long. The Lord is righteous, he has cut the cords of the wicked. May all who hate Zion be put to shame and turned backward. Let them be like the grass on the housetops that withers before it grows up, with which reapers do not fill their hands or binders of sheaves their arms, while those who pass by do not say, the blessing of the Lord be upon you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. So there you have it. It begins with the refrain, often they have attacked me from my youth. And some problems are just like that, aren't they? In our lives. They're long-standing, or what we might consider historical challenges that kind of dog us at every step. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. And one of the best examples that I could think of this week as I was thinking is someone who deals with depression. And I know that that's something that's familiar to you, and if not intimately familiar to you, familiar to someone you know, I'm certain. A long-standing characterological depression, something that isn't necessarily to do with the situation, right? Things can happen and we can become depressed in response to those things, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that long-standing challenge of depression that so many people face. And it's just, unless you've experienced it, unless that's been a part of your story, it's hard to understand that just at every step along life's way, it dogs you. It's always there. And it's not necessarily dependent on what's going on. So people around you might say, hey, what's wrong? You've got a job, you've got a relationship, you've got a house, you've got a car. Everything seems fine. Why are you depressed? And the reason for that is the depression is not necessarily related to circumstance. It's just always there just because, and it doesn't go away. And so there are things that we do to deal with this. There's medications that we can take. There's talk therapy that we can engage in. There are tips and tricks that we learn along life's way that help us to navigate the road of depression, but it's always there. And that's just one example, right, of sort of a long-standing life pattern of challenge that threatens to dishearten us. And the Old Testament speaks of it in sort of a, bad guys way. Often they have attacked me. And it doesn't necessarily have to be personality-based. It's, maybe a way of personifying our challenges as, putting a name and a face along with them. It's not necessarily that we have enemies in life. Maybe we do. Maybe we have particular people that are problematic in our life. Maybe someone on the job. Maybe someone in a close relationship. Someone in our life that we can put face and name to. But our problems are not, most of them, necessarily like that. It's just a way of talking about them that kind of brings them to life and animates them. They've often attacked me from my youth. It could be a disability. It could be something with which we daily contend. It's like that. The New Testament talks about that sin that so easily entangles us. Whatever it is in our life, whatever it is that's representative of the challenges that we face, it's like it's been with me all my life, dogging me every step of the way. What do you do about that? Often they've attacked me from my youth. Verse 2 repeats, often they've attacked me from my youth. Yet here's the thing, church. Verse 2 says, yet they have not prevailed against me. Okay? As a result of the challenges in my life, I may be bloodied, I may be bruised, I may come to this present moment broken in 1,000 ways, but guess what? I'm still standing, and I'm not backing down. Because the things that don't kill us have a way of making us stronger, and we're stronger in those broken places, and as a result of our own dark past, we're able to be of help and of use to the people in our lives. Because we're still standing. They've not prevailed against me. A great way to think about this, if you look at the New Testament book of Ephesians chapter 6. Paul said it's not just people. It's not just personalities. It's not just principalities, but it's powers that we contend against. Actually, I could read to it. It would be a little easier than trying to recall it from memory. It says in verse 12 of Ephesians 6, our struggle is not against enemies or blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. That betrays the fact that our struggle is not just against other people. It's not just personality driven, which means that the solution to your problem is more than the removal of a particular person from your life, right? Like if only I had a different boss, life would be golden. Or if only this person wasn't so constantly up in my business, everything would be okay. But we find that even in the removal of that person or place or situation, that the challenges continue for us. Paul says the reason for that is our struggle goes deeper. It goes deeper than external personalities. It's something in the spiritual fabric of our lives. There's deep-seated evil alive and active in the world and seeking to have its way with us. So that means we have to wake up to the fact that if we're going to survive and if we're going to thrive, we have to address this problem on that deeper level where it exists. So that begins, right, with a statement of resolve. They've attacked me from my youth, all my life. I've had these challenges. Yet, not prevailed against me. I'm still standing. Everything in your life has brought you, my friend, to this present moment. All that's happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, has made you who you are. It's quite intentional. And we can acknowledge and celebrate that. And then give voice to what's bothering us, right? That's what the Psalms teach us. To talk about it. Sometimes we want to keep things concealed. Deeply. Out of sight, out of mind. If we don't talk about it, we don't acknowledge it, maybe it doesn't exist. But what do we find? That these boogeymen, they gain power, right? In darkness and in secrecy. So if we can drag it into the light, if we can talk about our problems and our challenges in a way that's open, we'll find relief. Verse 3. The plowers have plowed on my back. They made their furrows long. If you're not an agricultural person, you might miss that reference. But it's like tilling up the flesh of your back. Let me just say it's not a good thing. Not pleasant. The psalmist is giving voice in verse 3 to their suffering. The plowers have plowed on my back. It makes you think of Jesus and of Paul, who suffered greatly as a result of the gospel. Paul talks about it in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. He says, are the Hebrews, so am I. Are the Israelites, so am I. Are the descendants of Abraham, so am I. Verse 23, verse 23, far more imprisonments with countless floggings and often near death. 5 times I have received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I received a stoning. 3 times I was shipwrecked. For a night and a day I was adrift at sea, on frequent journeys, in danger from rivers, danger from bandits, danger from my own people, danger from the Gentiles, danger in the city, danger in the wilderness, danger at sea. You get the idea. Danger, danger, danger. Paul says, I've been there and I've done that. I've experienced it for the sake of Christ. He's giving voice to his suffering. Now, it doesn't have to be that we're beat or stoned or flogged or whipped because of our beliefs, but the principle is there. We're giving voice to our suffering, to the things that challenge us in life, to the things that make us uncertain and afraid, the things that raise anxiety within us, the challenges of life, these long-standing things. The psalmist said, they've attacked me from my youth. These things, we're talking about them. We're dragging them out into the light. And we're discussing the things that are problematic in our lives. I want to encourage you to do just that. Not every context is appropriate, but there is a context that's appropriate, and I'd like to encourage you to find that. A place where you can talk about the unique challenges that you face in your life. Certainly in your intimate and close friendships and relationships, but also within the broader world of helping professionals and people that God has put in positions to be of service and of support to us. I want to encourage you not to suffer in silence. There's no value in that. There's no prize for sucking it up and being a tough cookie. Because it could be that this suffering, these challenges, the things in life that you face are eroding your confidence. They're eating away at you. They're not helping you by being concealed. It's like a cancer that spreads, and bringing it out into the light is bringing cure, bringing healing, bringing support. And that's what's important. The psalmist acknowledged, verse 4, the Lord is righteous. He's cut the cords of the wicked, meaning that there's an end to suffering. And the beginning of the end might be when we begin to talk about things, when we begin to bring things out into the light, when we begin to share with one another the things that are problematic in our lives. God has cut the cords of the wicked, which means that God does intervene, that God does help and support us. And that's what we're so tempted to miss in the melee of life's challenges, is that God is present in the midst of them. And when we have these long-standing problems in life, maybe it's depression, maybe it's something else, we ask, where is God in the midst of this? And if God is God, why is this problem still in my life? I've prayed about it so many times. It's like Paul talks about again in 2 Corinthians. Interesting. We land in the almost exact same spot, 2 Corinthians chapter 12 this time. And this one hadn't even occurred to me this week as I was thinking about this. But Paul talks about, let's see, 2 Corinthians 12:7. Even considering the exceptional character of the revelations, therefore, to keep me from being too elated, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me, to keep me from being too elated. 3 times I appealed to the Lord about this, that it would leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So Paul, the apostle, had this problem in his life, and he doesn't say directly what it is. And scholars have speculated, but the bottom line is we don't know. Paul said, I had this problem in my life, and I prayed for God to take it away. And God's answer was not to take it away from him, but to say, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. So maybe whatever it is that we're experiencing in our life is an invitation to experience the grace of God in a more profound way than we have in times past. Maybe it would be that God removing the problems from my life would not go as far as God allowing the problem to continue. But in His grace and in His providence, there is an end of suffering. And that's what the psalmist means when he says, the Lord is righteous and has cut the cords of the wicked. God says, this far and no further. So He's mindful of our suffering. He knows what's best for us. The invitation is to experience His grace. And then what the psalmist recommends in Psalm 129 is prayers against the bad guys. We see that beginning in verse 5. May all who hate Zion be put to shame and turn backward. Let them be like the grass on the housetops that withers before it grows up. And verse 8, while those who pass by do not say, the blessing of the Lord be upon you. It's like saying to your enemies, the Lord not bless you and keep you, and the Lord not make His face to shine upon you. I'm not putting the blessing of the Lord on you. I'm praying against you. We see it all throughout the psalm. Pray against your enemies. Pray against the bad guys. Pray that God would smite them, right? God would break their teeth against a rock or something like that. We don't hear a lot of those prayers. Do we say them? Is it encouraged of us? Is it there by example for us to follow? Pray against our enemies. God bless my family and my friends, and curse all who are against me. As Christians, we believe in progressive revelation, which means that as the story continues, it comes into sharper focus. And that sharper focus for us is contained in the New Testament. Jesus stood and said, you've heard that it was said to the people long ago. Well, let me just go and read that too rather than botch it, from Matthew chapter 5. Matthew 5:43, you've heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. That was commonly accepted protocol. But he says, verse 44, I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For He makes the sun rise on the evil and the good, sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Jesus described a new way of being in the world. A way that was big enough and gracious enough, altruistic enough, to be able to embrace not only those we love, but those we hate, to pray for those who persecute us, to bless our enemies and not to curse anyone. And I think the psalm anticipates that at the end. Psalm 129, verse 8, while those who pass by do not say, the blessing of the Lord be upon you, and then it closes, we bless you in the name of the Lord. Takes us from place A to place B. From the place in life where I can't muster the courage to say, God bless you because you're my enemy, to the place where I say to everyone with inclusion, we bless you in the name of the Lord. It's finding grace in the most unlikely places. It's recognizing that truly The things in this life that haven't killed me have made me stronger, and I bless God for them, and I bless the things themselves. I bless the people themselves. It's the courage to forgive. It's the ability to seek restoration where there's been division. It's a whole new way of being in the world. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying Jesus, in that same sermon in Matthew 5, said, be perfect because your Father in heaven is perfect. That's the standard. That's the example. That's the road that we're on. So when you take all of this together, and maybe it's been a little random and piecemeal, I don't know. But when you put it together, life's tough. And it comes with a fair amount of challenges that are unique to each of us. No two of us experience the exact same degree of challenge, and you can't think that other people's experience is like your own. It's all unique, but I think Psalm 129 gives us sort of a roadmap for putting that together. For having the ability to stand up and say, look, the things in my life have brought me to the present, and I'm still here and I'm standing. I might be struggling, but I'm alive. I'm still standing. And I want to talk about and name those things in my life that have been problematic for me, and I want to find a way through them. Maybe it's God removing it in an instant, maybe it's not. Maybe it's me learning to live with it, to contend with it. Maybe I walk with a limp like Jacob, and that's a part of my legacy. This is the life that God has for me, and I want to bless God and bless the people in my life. And at the end of the day, the realization is we have no enemies. Everyone's a problem. Everything's a part of God's intention for our life, so we accept it as it is. There's a prayer that was popularized in the recovery movement, Alcoholics Anonymous, and those groups that came in its shadow, the Serenity Prayer. It says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Maybe that should be our prayer moving forward. Father, we thank you for this day, for the things that you're teaching us through life. Some things quite painful. We thank you that you're with us in all that we experience, that we're never left alone, we're never without your assistance and support. Pray that you encourage us, God, as we endeavor to live the legacy of Jesus Christ in this world, in our lives, for his glory and honor.